Alright everyone, welcome back again to Papa Dejet channel tentunya. Dan kali ini gue sedikit grogi karena lo lihat sendiri di sebelah udah ada siapa? Ada kapitalis. Di sini gue pengen ngobrol sama kapitalis tentang Dota, especially di Southeast Asia. But also kita bakal ngomongin soal karir dia dulu sebelum kita ke Southeast Asia. So kita langsung panggil aja di sini. Please welcome Capitalist himself. Hello Cap.
Hello.
Hello, long time no see ya.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this interview. I haven't done a podcast in a while.
Yep. Okay. So let me introduce myself for you. My name is Dimas from Indonesia. We met before on the GST Jakarta, if you remember.
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah. Okay. So how are you doing, Cap? Like, what are you doing lately? Casting some game, I believe.
Yeah, I'm right now. I'm just working Dream League and ESL. So I'm covering Europe and CIS for the DPC.
Okay.
So that's been keeping me busy for the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Okay. So you're still focusing on casting the game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So before we talk about Dota in general, based on your opinion, let's talk about about you first. Let's talk about your career, like your esport career. When exactly your esport career start, Cap? Please, your time.
Let's see. I think it started pretty slowly. I think I was casting for fun, kind of as a hobby in Heroes of Newerth, and then I got into it for Dota 2 as well. But at the same time, I was also trying to play competitively for both of those games. And so I was kind of splitting my time between my regular job, the military, and then also trying to play competitively and also cast. And as you would imagine, splitting my time 4 different ways wasn't really that effective. I wasn't a very good competitive player. So I, at some point in time, realized that I was going to stop doing that. I focused more on casting. I ended up starting to cast with Toby online. And then after about doing that for a number of months, unexpectedly, Toby messaged me and asked me if I would be interested in moving to Berlin for a full-time job casting, which of course I was, but I was still in the military. So it took me about 9 months, I think, in total for me to be able to go from getting that job offer to actually getting an early discharge out of the military in order to eventually move to Germany.
Okay. So, I know that you living the Join Dota in 2016. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, but can you tell me why you leave such a good name like a Join Dota? It's so popular back in the day. Like everyone looking for the tournament, just go to the Join Dota and Join Dota League. It's coming out, but you're living on the 2016. What is happening between you and Join Dota?
I would say that we had some disagreements. Honestly, the biggest thing is that I think it was very natural what happened. Basically, in any talent industry, in the early stages, it is a good relationship to have a production house own their talent. But as the talent industry goes bigger and bigger, eventually that relationship becomes less and less feasible. So you see it with actors. If you go back through the history of actors, there used to be production companies that would own actors, basically. They would hire actors, and those actors would only be in that production company's movies, right? They couldn't be in other production companies, no matter how popular they are, right? And so ultimately, that obviously broke apart. Now actors, are in all kinds of different movies. And the same thing is always going to happen with commentators, where during Dota just couldn't really pay enough. Like it's just the fact that like I knew I could be making more money if I was freelance. And going back to my boss and being like, hey, like I know I can make more money being freelance. I don't really enjoy living in Germany. I'd like to be able to move back home and stuff. And they like, it's not that they were being stingy or anything like that. I just don't think they could support paying me more. So ultimately, I decided to leave Join Dota and go independent. And yeah, I mean, Join Dota as a whole was kind of a sinking ship, to be honest. just because I think that their hold on the Dota scene was being loosened mostly due to bad project management.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. So instead,
yeah, I mean,
it.
Joy Dota was the king once upon a time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like let it die.
Yeah.
And that's just because of bad project management. We didn't have good project managers that actually led and pushed Join Dota
All right.
forward. So it just kind of meant that eventually the project was doomed to fail.
All right. So let's talk about your Dota 2 career as a player, because the Wikipedia said
Mm.
that you are a semi-pro player at least. Yeah, the last time you played as a player for Fiji Esport. Can you tell me what is really the purpose of that esport team? Like who you last time played on the Fiji Esport? Can you tell us?
Um, okay, so I was playing competitively in Heroes of New Earth and Dota 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the peak of my career was, I think there was a short time where I was standing in for Root Gaming,
Mm-hmm.
where we actually played against Fnatic,
Mm-hmm.
the old Fnatic with no tail and such. That was probably my peak. But after that, I stopped playing competitively because honestly, I just didn't think I was good enough. And I focused more on casting. And when the qualifiers started rolling around, and I became friends with Blitz and Purge and Merlini and stuff, we decided to actually play in the open qualifiers. So we made Team Veggies as a counterpoint to Cinderin, who made Team Meat, I believe.
Okay.
His team was Team Meat, so
Mm-hmm.
ours was Team Veggies.
Okay. So you kind of rival to each other. Okay. Like
Yeah, yeah,
there's a meat and there's a vegetable, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about your Dota 2 career as a player, as a shotcaster. When is exactly the hardest time on your career as a shotcaster, Cap?
Hardest time in my career. It's hard to judge anything before I joined Dota as a career because I wasn't getting
Mm-hmm.
paid for all the work that I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
casting with Toby. Even the Star Ladder land that I casted with Toby, I didn't get paid for.
Really?
So yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I was casting remote and Toby was there in Star Ladder,
Oh.
and I didn't get paid anything for that.
Oh my god.
Um, so that like it's hard to judge that as career. It was I felt like more like a hobby of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
But so the hardest time in my career would be sometime after I joined Dota, and it was probably the first like 6 months I would say
Mm-hmm.
that I was enjoying Dota, because I was hated because
Wow.
the joined Dota channel is actually Toby's old channel.
Wow.
I don't know if many people know that, but like
Mm-hmm.
Toby used to have a Twitch channel, right, where he would cast.
Mm-hmm.
And when he joined Dota, they actually turned that channel into
Oh.
the company's channel.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but you know, even just even if it wasn't his old channel, it was naturally whenever you turned in to join Dota, you were expecting to get Toby, right?
Yes.
It was just like he was there for everything. So all of a sudden there's somebody else there. People didn't like me very much, and so I was just getting flamed to shit nonstop.
Wow.
Plus I joined Dota right before Christmas. So I remember like being in a new country, being there on Christmas. Nobody from the company was around. I was totally by myself for like 2 weeks or something like that. Walking into the studio every
Mm-hmm.
day and just casting some really bad tier 3 Chinese tournament called I think it was the Shenzhen tournament or something like that.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just remember casting on Christmas Day, being flamed nonstop and being like, all right, this is the life I chose.
Okay, but you can get through it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the hate that I got just fueled me.
Mm-hmm.
Where a lot of people said like some really mean stuff, and
Okay.
I just took that and I actually still have it saved on my computer. I took like screenshots of a whole bunch of the comments that I got, and it's now sitting in a folder. Whenever I need some like extra fuel to push to be better at my job, I go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and read those comments. So.
All right. So there's the hardest time on your career as a shotcaster. But after there's always a rainbow after the rain, right? When is the best
Mhm.
time of your life as a caster?
Best time is my life as a caster. I don't know. That might have been honestly, I enjoy my job quite a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, one of the biggest peaks
Mm-hmm.
after that time would probably be so I got hired for ESL one,
Oh yeah.
which
Mm-hmm.
I think I did a good job for.
Mm-hmm.
And people actually were, that was the point where people would be beginning to turn their opinion around about me.
Okay.
And then I also got hired for TI shortly after ESL one. In fact, I
Yes.
got a message from Ice Frog about ESL one. He said, "Hey, nice job casting," or something like that. And obviously, I was blown away that Ice Frog would contact me. And then he invited me to TI as well,
Yeah.
which obviously was massive for me. Um, and yeah, the rest of my career has been like honestly very good. The times that I do somewhat miss the times probably about like a year or two ago where it was like me, Blitz, Owen, Sheever, and we were just like traveling all around together nonstop. I remember one time we had like
Uh
six
huh.
weeks where we went to like five different places where we were just traveling around together. Those were good times for sure.
All
Um,
right. Great. So talking about career, are you satisfied with what you got right now with all of the rain that coming through your life, and finally you able to like as simple as said, you can buy everything with the everything that you got right now with the esport career. Are you satisfied?
yeah, I think I'm honestly I'm somebody who's like genuinely usually a happy person. That's my norm, is just being happy.
All
So,
right.
and I am very satisfied with my career. I love my job.
Great.
Having experiences, having worked jobs that aren't this, because a lot of people, in esports, they go from going in high school or college and school or some kind, and then they go directly into their sort of like dream job, and so they don't really get to experience
Mm-hmm.
bad jobs, and I experienced some bad jobs, so
All right.
I'm always kind of aware of how good I have it with my job
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. But I'm also always slightly unsatisfied. Maybe unsatisfied is the wrong word, but I'm always trying to like push for something else.
Okay.
So right now, I'm trying to I feel like I've kind of, in some ways, I can't get better. I can always get better, but I can't like grow a ton in
Mm-hmm.
Dota casting. So I've been trying my hands a little bit more at hosting at Dream League, just to try and like work on something. I always like the feeling of improving on something. So
All
I've
right.
been working on getting better as a host. And then I've also been wanting to kind of like do some other esports stuff, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's casting some other small games or hosting some other games. Just something that makes me feel a little bit more satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. And then voice acting is the other big thing that I'm trying to work on quite a lot. That is a big actual source of satisfaction for me right now.
Okay. Okay. So, one last question before we're talking about Dota. Let's.
Hmm.
I want to ask you about. There's a lot of people in every region, like Southeast Asia, Europe, CIS, or whatever, you name it. There's a lot of people that want to try start his career or her career to join the esport scene in every region. Is it still promising for you to start a esport career in this kind of situation? Like we're facing a pandemic. There's so no not so many offline even right now. Do you have any opinion?
I think that these sort of situations like the pandemic are
Mm-hmm.
obviously opportunities. So some people that may be home more often might have an opportunity if they are interested in casting or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. But I don't think it's specifically anything about this time that is good or bad for esports necessarily. I think if people are interested in getting into, let's say, getting into casting in Dota 2, I think that's somewhat of a bad idea because
Okay.
Dota 2 is an aging esport. So we're not like, even with the anime and stuff like that, we're not all of a sudden going to reach like massive new peaks in
I
Dota
know.
2
I know.
numbers, right? So it's like we're an aging esport, but in general, if you're just interested in getting in general esports, I think it's always a good time. Whether it's trying to, if you're just interested in working in esports and say like trying to be an admin for tournaments, or if you're interested in working on the production side, the production side is just to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because more and more esports products are going to be used. And production is there's a lot of things that can be taught in production that I don't think you necessarily need schooling for, because a lot of esports companies are built off of people that are just hungry and want to be able to be in esports. So if you're able to join a company like ESL, get into the production side, learn how to, direct a camera, or learn how to even better be like a producer or something like that, you'll always be in high demand, I think.
Okay.
So if you can find a way to get into a company and learn some of those skills that are integral to production, especially, I think it's always a good time to get into esports. It's just, you may not be doing your favorite game. That's the thing that people have to accept, right? Yeah. It's like, you might love Dota 2 and hate Fortnite, but guess what? Fortnite is the big hot new thing. So you're going to be doing a lot of Fortnite projects.
Okay, so enough with the career. Let's talk about Dota right now. Before we got the DPC season in January 2021, everyone is like a panic, like a mad, because there is no TI in 2020. DPC season suddenly stopped in the on the end of 2020. Are you one of the people that panic, Cap, right now? Back in the day?
I wasn't I definitely wasn't panicking, because I knew that third-party organizers would always kind of fill this space. That being said, I wasn't like super happy with the way Valve handled the pandemic time. I felt like they just kind of took their hands off the wheel and just like, that's the thing. It was like, in this dire time of like a pandemic and everything shutting down and stuff, like, who kept the Dota 2 scene going? It wasn't Valve, it was third-party organizers, and that's okay. Like, I'm not going to totally disagree with that. I think it was actually pretty good for Dota. It just would have been nice if Valve communicated and organized a little bit more. I think there was definitely a time for them to be able to step in and put the DPC into action sooner. I think a lot of that was just uncertainty. They didn't know exactly when TI was going to be happening. But even once we finally did get the DPC going, it felt like things were still like not fully planned well. So I'm always kind of like a bit disappointed about that, for sure. But ultimately, like, Dota 2 is still like a very top tier esport. So if the developer doesn't lead the way when it comes to esports, third-party organizers will always step in. There's always people who are interested in running tournaments in Dota.
All right. So when the DPC season get announced by Valve himself, what is your first reaction and your expectation about the DPC season, at least the first season of the DPC in 2021? Cap.
I was definitely very excited because I thought it would be a good way to build up the tier 2 scene, also to build up the talent scene as well, because I think as it is right now, it is still good for talent, but I believe the original plan that I think involved the various regions, the various DPC hubs having to have panels in studio as well. That would just be a lot more jobs, a lot more talent jobs. So that was definitely, plus I think the competition between regions might actually help people make better new products, which I think in general, Dota casting, Dota storytelling, let's say, because it's not just the casting, it's actually more so on the paneling side of things. But I think that's gotten a little stale. So I was hoping to see some production companies, tournament organizers, like, step that up a little bit. But the disappointment comes in where it feels like things are just kind of the same. And also the fact that we only get like one best of 3 between a team for 6 weeks. We talked a lot behind just the other talent, talking about like what we would do to change it. I think we've come up with like, we'd like to be able to see like 2 best of 2s maybe, or at least like 2 series minimum between a team. So you can see a team on week 1 You could see TNC versus Fnatic week 1 and TNC versus Fnatic week 6
Yes.
and see what the difference is, right? Like there could be a massive difference with the month of teams growing and trying to get better. So more games in general would definitely be good. Other than that, I think the lower division has actually gone really well, considering the fact that people just are not naturally going to be interested
Okay.
in watching lower division. They're not interested in watching tier 3 Dota for the most
Of
part.
course.
So I actually think that this product
Mm-hmm.
of the lower division has actually gone really well. I think more people are getting interested in tier 3 Dota. It's
Mm-hmm.
getting teams a lot of exposure, and hopefully that will mean more team owners come in, especially with the fan packs.
Yes.
Right? Those fan packs that are supposed to come in. That's like an example of like, okay, I feel like that was supposed to happen at the start of the season. We're now at the end of the season. It still hasn't come out. Like, I feel like something wasn't quite organized there, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. So speaking about expectation, do you have any expectation about who's gonna fill the blank in the first major? Because the first major already get announced in the Singapore, right?
Mm-hmm.
On a Singapore on the March 2021. I don't know the exact date, but I do believe it's in March because we're facing the last week of the first DPC season on the 2021, right? So
Yeah.
until we record this, there's only one team, and you know who? It's a team secret, like always. The first team that joining the playoff invitation slot. Do you have any prediction, like from the North America? Let's start with North America. Who's gonna fill the blank?
Okay, so North America, I think it's pretty easy. It's going to be Quincy Crew
Quincy
and
Crew.
EG.
Okay.
Are going to be your two guaranteed teams, and
Okay.
then
And then we
um,
move to Europe. Who's gonna fill the European last slot?
Europe is pretty hard, right? It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be Secret, and then I think most likely Alliance is going to make it in,
Alliance.
uh, and OG.
OG. So you still believe in OG? It's kind of hard.
Yeah. I think OG's good. They're just inconsistent right now. That's the
Mm-hmm.
hardest thing. The hard part is deciding who that fourth team is going to be. And it's most likely Nigma or Liquid.
Mm-hmm.
And Liquid, in order to be there, they have to beat OG and Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a little bit of a hard task, considering the fact that they haven't been looking quite as good as they normally do. Then again, Liquid always seems to come in clutch.
Okay.
Liquid always seems to like have a bad group stage and then
Yes.
turn it all around the last 2
Yes.
days or something like that. So most likely it's going to be Nigma, just because their last opponent is High Coast, who have
Yes.
been obviously the weakest team.
Mm-hmm.
Liquid, in order to make it, they have to beat OG and Alliance. I feel like that's unlikely.
It's a hard for Liquid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move to China region. Who's your
Mhm.
candidate?
So China, because I'm now in Europe, I've been
I
able
know.
to watch some Chinese games
Mm-hmm.
for once, and it's been interesting. Obviously, the field is not quite as played out because they're on break
Mm-hmm.
right now. But the biggest surprise to me was the fact that Elephant just looks
Elephant.
so. They got wrecked by a lot of teams. So they're kind of like middle of the field right now.
Mm-hmm.
IG looks fantastic. VG Gaming looks fantastic.
Correct.
Aster was a big surprise to me. I
It
didn't
is.
think Aster was going to be as good as they are,
Mm-hmm.
because they beat both Elephant and LGD. So the rest of it, like, they have to play VG Gaming and IG still, but they've already put themselves in a really good spot, being 3-0. So
Okay.
I think VG Gaming and IG are still the top two teams for me anyway. And I'm expecting LGD to still make it back up to that top four. So I think maybe either Elephant or Aster is going to go out. Either Aster is going to have like some sort of breakdown and they're going to start getting wrecked by some teams, or it's actually going to be Elephant who doesn't make it, which is surprising for the super team. But so many things can change when you go on break for like 2-3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
on top of an already very extended DPC league. So who knows?
All right. So before we talk about my region, Southeast Asia region,
Hmm.
let's talk in deep about our my region right now. What makes Dota to people in Southeast Asia always give the outside region of Southeast Asia kind of thing that the meta in Southeast Asia is all about fighting. Are you having same opinion about that?
Yes, but at the same time, we've seen so Southeast Asia and classically Southeast Asia and
Mm-hmm.
CIS were always very well compared because of
Wow.
the aggressive nature
Mm-hmm.
of their players, right? It's like the teams just like to be able to fight. CIS has actually slowed down a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like Southeast Asia is still kind of keeping up the speed, which is good because I think that's where Dota is right now. I think the meta of Dota is fast paced. I think
Mm-hmm.
you should be making a lot of rotations. I think your first like five rotations of the game in like the 5 to 10 minute point actually determines so much of the game. So I think Southeast Asia is actually obviously Europe is going to be most likely farthest ahead in the meta, but I think
Mm-hmm.
Southeast Asia and China are the two regions that are closest to Europe in that regard,
Okay.
and that I think they're leading the meta a little bit more.
Okay, so you said that CIS and China kind of similar in the kind of in the term of meta, right? But what makes Southeast Asia region look so tiny compared to other regions? Like the exposure so different with the other region is it because the regions not so many big team in this region?
I would say that it's a combination of classically Southeast Asian teams just not being able to achieve the top three at TI sort of situation. Sadly, like we've had some like good upsets, like TNC very classically at TI, right, have been managed to get upset, but ultimately they make it to like top eight, right? Whereas early on, if we had been achieving like top three, if the Southeast Asia team had won a TI, for example, then I
Mm-hmm.
think you would see like a much stronger C region because then people would have watched a Southeast Asia team win a TI and they'd be like, I want to do that. There'd be a lot more money in Southeast Asia to be able to support some of these teams. Where classically Southeast Asia is just a picking ground for China in so many ways, right? It's Chinese teams take some of the best talent out of the C region, bring them into these very expensive Chinese clubs that are probably paying a lot of money for
Sure,
their players and their
sure.
teams. So I think that's another problem is that like some of your best talent is getting pulled away from other regions,
Yeah.
whether mostly China, right? But Europe and North America are also more expensive regions that have also pulled from the talent in Southeast Asia. So I think that is another big reason. Another slight reason would be I would always wonder like captaining
Mm-hmm.
is an incredibly important part of Dota 2. And for whatever reason, it feels like some talent feel like they would rather go to other regions. Maybe it's money, but maybe it's also leadership, right? Like
Yeah.
Puppy gives you a call and you're like, oh shit, I get to be on a team with Puppy. Like I'm definitely taking that.
Because
But
everyone
I
wants to
don't
play
really
with Papi right now.
yeah, and I don't really feel like there's that person in Southeast Asia
Mm-hmm.
anymore, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it used to be Mushi at some point in
Yes.
time, but like he's obviously not really one of those people. Like now, who do you have? It's like Jabs. You've got Febby
Fabi.
now, who's going to be there. But like you don't really have that like big like I've gone back
I
to
know.
back TIs,
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of captain. It draws people in and
Mm-hmm.
says like that's the guy that I want to put all of my time and effort into for a
Okay.
chance to be able to win TI, right?
Okay.
You got to have that kind of leadership in Dota because this is a life-changing opportunity. Tens of millions of dollars are out there.
Yes.
You pick and choose your team very carefully because you're basically like, you're going to spend a year working really, really hard to potentially change your life for the rest of like who you trust with your career is very important. So I think it's a myriad of factors for sure. A lot of different factors that go into why Southeast Asia doesn't feel as big,
Mm-hmm.
even though they obviously have the talent. There's
Yes.
great young and up and coming talent coming out of Southeast Asia.
Sure. So Going to my last few questions, just quick cut. What is your expectation about after this DPC season? Like, is there any part from Valve that still can be improved in your opinion? Because Southeast Asia is almost get robbed in the first DPC season. Like, the team assault were disqualified due to the icon sharing, something like that. Is there any kind of things that still can be improved in your opinion, Cap?
Sorry, so say that question again.
Okay. Is Are you having more expectation from Valve himself about the next DPC season? Because in the first DPC season, South Asia almost get robbed from the team assault that were disqualified due the account sharing. Like, do you have
Um,
any other method to do the qualifier?
yeah, I would have liked to see all of the qualifiers. I'm not sure why there are different rules between the different regions,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
but
so
I would have liked
I'm
to
sorry. I'm
see.
sorry. I have to cut
Mhm.
you because you just said that there's a different rules between A region with a B region and a C region. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
There's
just know
different
that.
rules for qualifiers. So, for example, North America is one of the only regions that had an open qualifier where you could go from being in the open qualifier all
Mm-hmm.
the way up to the upper division,
Oh
right?
wow.
And and I would have liked to see that for every single region. Honestly, I think
Okay.
that is like that's the part of the spirit of TI, right? Is that anybody can go and try and qualify and make it to TI.
I
So I would have liked to be able to see that for every single region. Part of the reason it happened in North America specifically is because NA doesn't have very many teams.
okay.
So they almost needed to have open
Yeah.
qualifiers to upper division, but I think that spirit should have been in every single one of the qualifiers. So I think that obviously, I think we need uniform rule set, and I would like to have that rule set allow all kinds of teams to be able to qualify for the upper division, the DPC, because if you're shooting for TI, you have to be playing in the upper division,
Sure.
right? Valve kind of closed off the system a little bit
Yep.
in that regard. So.
Okay. So my last question is not really a question, but for the Indonesian Dota 2 fans out there, my viewers, do you have any word for them? Like from you to Indonesian scene, Dota 2 scenes, like you said before, there's a lot of Indonesian players that going out from Indonesia himself, playing for another team in Southeast Asia. Like in your dream, first of all, he's playing for Fnatic back in the day and playing for T1, not playing as an Indonesian team, something like that. Do you have any word from you about your career too, about shortcasting or anything else that you want to say to them? Cap, the time is
Um,
yours.
I'll, I'll just talk to Southeast Asia in general. Hopefully when this pandemic ends, we'll be able to have some big lands back in Southeast Asia because that's one of my favorite regions to like. There are only two places that stand out really when it comes to lands
Mm-hmm.
and specifically the crowds at those lands. And that is Birmingham for
Birmingham.
ESL One,
Mm-hmm.
and then Southeast Asia.
Oh.
Anytime we go anywhere in Southeast Asia, it's always an amazing experience because the fans are
I know.
so passionate and they get so loud, and it's amazing to be a part of that.
Okay.
So I'm, shout out to all you guys out there. Every single time we go out to Southeast Asia, the talent has nothing but great things to say about everybody that we meet and all the fans that are there and stuff like that. So thank you guys for always treating us so well when we come to visit,
Mm-hmm.
and looking forward to seeing you again in the future.
Okay. So, all right, Caps. Thanks for your time. That's it. All
Hmm.
of my question, you already answered it. I really, really appreciate it. You want to become my first international guest on my podcast, I believe, because
Nice.
a lot of my guests is coming from Indonesia, like the players,
Yeah.
the caster in Indonesia, and you are my first international guest right now. So, yeah, good luck on your next casting game. See you again, Caps. Goodbye.
Thank you, man. All right. Bye.
Bye.